What's up? Hey, so it's a gang of libertarians. So I would normally say everybody get up and come to the front, but you guys are libertarians, so I'm gonna ask you to volunteer to come closer. If you want to, completely if you do, we are family. If you want to, come in the front, let's all chop it up. The whole reason for this is I have to answer questions. If I can answer the questions that you have, because clearly you're in Delaware, and where you're lacking is more melanated folks getting on board, right? So I can't help you if I can't answer your questions, if that makes sense, all right? So this, I don't ever, Mike, where's Mike at? Mike Heiss. Oh, there he is. Big Mike the Toure. So everybody give it up for Mike real quick and the Mises Caucus. Part of the reason why I even ran or even go to a lot of things is because of Mike. I'm usually like in Philly or doing some other stuff, but Mike has been very, very instrumental, and everybody here tonight coming out, making sure that your voices are heard for liberty, and I just want to make sure that everybody is acknowledging everybody putting that work in. Is that fair? Cool, all right, so do the clap thing, clap. Okay, I never know what I'm gonna say on the podium. I have no idea. Me coming up here and telling you what I think you should do and all that other good stuff is great, and it generally works for me on certain levels, but on different levels, it won't work for you. The questions that you can ask are how to engage to get better. The best way for me to help you there is to give you the answers that I know, and if I don't, this magical phrase of I don't know that most people are afraid to say will still help, because then we'll go find the answers together. So during my time up here, I don't know how much time I have, whatever questions that you have about anything, I don't care, ask them. Hopefully it's stuff related to like how we can expand liberty and freedom principles. If it's about, me and did Tommy Lahren get it on, that's a whole nother thing that was just media takeout. I'm sorry to let you know that that's completely false. All right? So when I say this, normally I say, does anybody want to go first? Nobody ever wants to go first. Who wants to go first? Told you. Nobody? No questions? None. All right, go ahead. Sister right here. Her question was, if you give the liberty movement a piece of advice at the top of the list, you talking about beginners or just people that are getting into the movement? Okay. It would be stop doing purity contests amongst each other. That shit doesn't work. It doesn't work. Like, everybody in here is smarter than me. Like, legit. Like, Mike knows everything about libertarianism, right? That's just the reality. But it doesn't help. It doesn't spread to get other people in. One of my friends, his name is Edgar Antillon, right? He runs Guns for Everyone. And his organization, he literally just said last week at an event that I thought was dope, he said that the gun rights movement is dead. And he's frustrated. So I understand why he says it. I disagree with him. Part of the reason why I do agree with him is because we're in groups that know it already, right? The purity contest from the outside, the person that may be interested in going on the inside, that person just looks like, oh, well, they're just going to be arguing. And I don't really have time to be like arguing with, are there children here? I don't really have time to be arguing with you over stupid shit. So if one of the things that, from my humble opinion, would help the liberty movement is stop doing purity tests, at least until that person is, change their political affiliation and join the caucus, right? Stop there, right? That will be one of the things on the top of the list. The reason, again, and then I'll take the next question, is because, our opposition is very well funded. They can afford to make mistakes in outreach, right? They can say goofy shit like, I got hot sauce in my bag, or like, black people are stupid, so they don't even know how to use the internet. They can get away with it because they got a bunch of money. They got an infrastructure that'll cover for them. We don't. And that's just the reality. So that goes into part of the reason why I generally cuss out donors that are unprincipled. That's the reason why I argue with people for not being principled, right? Because they initially come in with well, he's not libertarian enough energy. Now, I'm thick-skinned, so it doesn't bother me, right? But at the same time, it's like, yo, why are we doing this? Even if you're right, you're smarter than the other non-libertarian. You don't get anything for being right. You're just right. And it is horrible for outreach. It is horrible. As the person that's on the outside telling dudes from the hood, like, yo, this libertarian thing is where it's at. They're like, those dudes are like fighting each other all the time. I don't have time for it. So that's one thing that I would say. Just don't be right in your own mind and let it go. It's like arguing. You know how you talk to your boyfriend? And you're like, he's wrong, but I'm going to just let him have this one? That's it right there. All right, another question. Sister right here. So her question was, a lot of her friends, same thing with me. Most of my friends are, Philly where I live is like 80% Democrat, and they're liberal. They don't even know what that means, though. And I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm saying it like our opposition is, they're masters of changing and repurposing words and symbols and stuff like that, right? If they do use that term or identify as that, I'll give them the definition of classical liberal first. And I go, oh, that's great, you're a liberal. And then I'll explain them some like founding father type of classic liberal, and they've already identified as this thing, and I'll put them with the actual definition, right? That's if they know what that means. I do not go with their euphemism or what they already believe. They've already conquered the word, or their perception of the word. So if they identify as that term, I'll give them that definition and put them in that box. Oh, so you're like a freedom fighter, like one of the founding fathers. That was like I didn't know you were a gun owner. And they'll go, wait, what? So that's one area. If they don't identify, right? I guess give me an example of how the conversation would start or what your goal is.
I see mostly online or just people my age. And I'm only...
They say that, but they really do. So, for example, I have a lot of anti-gun friends, and I was just talking to somebody in the back just a second about this. I'll say, you know what President Trump was really good at? He was good at giving somebody else a definition, and it will be very difficult for them to get from under what he called them, whether it was rude or not. If I call you this thing, now you're spending your time proving that you're not Pocahontas. Right? There's something to be learned there. So what you do is you go, oh man, you're actually more pro-gun than I thought. And they go, I'm not pro-gun, I'm anti-gun. And I go, nah, man. And then I give them a definition that they're going to make themselves look silly if they disagree with it. So I'll go, even if they're extremely, because they're all going to say, well, I mean, I just want common sense gun laws. They're going to use the playbook, right? And you go, man, you're not actually anti-gun, and you're actually more pro-gun than I thought. And they go, well, no, I'm not pro-gun, I'm anti-gun. And then you say, well, I can't believe that because you're more objective, even if they're not. You're more objective than some anti-gun people that I've actually met. And they'll go, what do you mean? And then you go, well, and me knowing you and us talking, you know, if somebody came in here right now and wanted to like shoot me and shoot you and shoot your loved ones that are here, if there was a gun and feeling your passion for people, I know that you would use that gun to protect us. And then that person would have to almost say, no, I wouldn't. I'd let them kill us all. And they're never going to say that. Our opposition is very, very good at changing narratives. Does anybody know the meeting when all of the gays in America or in the world said gay people, because that's the term that they'll use them. They'll say Maj is homophobic, whatever, right? Does anybody know the meeting when supposedly, even though everyone says don't treat everybody the same, does anybody know the meeting when there was the let's make this our flag, the rainbow flag? Does anybody know the meeting? Nobody. All different walks of life, but somehow everybody got on the same page for their agenda, right? Corporate media said, no, this is just what you guys are going to do now. Now, if you're gay, you absolutely have to be like this and this and this and this and this, which is complete horseshit. However, they're good at shifting and explaining the narrative and shaping it for you. My gay homies, I'm like, bro, when I'm in the neighborhood in Philly, there's a lot of good restaurants there, like Elvez. I'm at Elvez all the time, right? When I joke with my gay homies, I'm like, yo, when are y'all having these meetings that like all of the hot girls are gonna be in Woody's, which is a gay club across the street from Elvez, right? And they're like, bro, do you think we have meetings? And we joke about it because we understand each other, but they know corporate media is shifting things. Now that money's being made, this whole month it's gonna be, yeah, we love you until like July the 1st. There's something to be learned from that. In a humble, empathetic, and it is a bit manipulative. It is. But this is a culture war, right? So when you're giving someone a definition that's greater than what the deeds that they're actually showing, you almost are kind of tricking them to live up to those deeds. But you do that by defining the terms for them. I think you're more objective than some other extreme people that I've met. I don't think that your passion for wanting to protect life, because that's what most anti-gun people are. They view themselves as the person on this end of the gun, not on that end of the gun. So they're concerned about people on this end of the gun being harmed. So they care about people, which makes them objective and passionate. So because you're so passionate and objective, I actually think you're pro-gun, because you already told me you're a liberal, and you've given them the definition. This thing is one with hearts and minds, and it's really, you're casting spells and incantations. That's what spelling is, spells. Does that make sense? So in essence, don't go into it with an adversarial or this libtard or this guy on the right or this Trump supporter or this black dude or this white dude or whatever, right? This human that cares about humans wants to understand something, but I have to shift the narrative. My grandmother used to tell me that respect the devil. The devil, you're smart, but the devil is more ancient. That ancient energy has had more time in conditioning that human's perspective. So you have to kind of assuage it a little bit in that. And I'm gonna be honest, it is a bit manipulative. I would love to say that I've had success in just telling hardcore truths. I haven't. It usually works with like babies because they don't have the same level of conditioning that we have, right? So does that make sense? Does that help a bit? Cool. Next question. Brother right here. This is the only guy that stood up. He's the smart one. Go ahead.
I'm just an attention whore.
Me too. I'm on the stage with a microphone.
What do you think is the significance of the, obviously...
It's art. It's interpretive.
Right.
To a gun owner, it means black guns, like semi-automatic firearms. To a black person that has been caught up in the racist practice of gun control, and that person that has been accosted, like if you stub your toe, I can't tell you how much your toe feels bad, right? I can't tell somebody that's from a different culture. The cops in my neighborhood will fuck you up. They will fuck you up. It's not even a joke. And if you tell somebody, like Mike gets it, being from a city, he's like, no, they're fucked up over there, right? But then if you're somebody that's in a small town, he's like, what? This is sheriff. He's the nicest guy. And he probably is, or she probably is. So saying that to say it's interpretive. And by leaving it there, it's catching the person where they already are and then helping them reshape that narrative when they come with one side. So if they come with yin, I'm going to explain yang. If they come with, yeah, those black guns, because those Black Lives Matter people are horrible and they hate America. And I go, well, I don't know. I haven't met all of them. You see what I'm saying? And then it creates the conversation. You cannot, if we say that people are not monolithic groups, if we say that, and any group or representative of that group that you happen to, have your single serving interaction with, you have to genuinely leave your preconceived notions at the door. So when I say black guns matter, some people means like, yeah, man, you're like an opposite of Black Lives Matter. And I could go, no, I'm not. Black guns protect black life. Maybe it's in alignment with it. You have to create the conversation. But you have to her point, it has to be done in a manner where it is not easily received. Some people are going to go out of their way, but it cannot be easily received as adversarial. There's going to be enough people that's going to make you get real adversarial, right? But in the engagement part, with outreach, it has to not be adversarial at all. We have to actually live these concepts that we think, like legit. Like, I was driving into Minnesota in this huge RV that we got, right? And after getting this RV, I had never been to a campground before in my life, right? And it's getting cold up in Minnesota, and I'm driving, and I'm pulling into a campground to get water. And this guy's like the campground dude. And in my mind, this was a few months ago, right? Last year. In my mind, I had already pegged him as, this guy's gonna see me in the RV. He's gonna see the music, he's gonna see me, the tattoos, the hat backwards. He's automatically gonna prejudge me. In turn, I'm actually prejudging him. I get out and I'm like almost defensive, and he's like, "You need water, man?" And our thing is closed because it's the winter time. After a certain time, they shut the things off, right? He's like, "But man, just pull over to where ours are. I'm gonna give you some of our water. You probably only need like 50 gallons. So I had already preconceived the dude and thinking he was gonna preconceive me. You gotta leave all of that shit at the door. Black Guns Matter and engaging the conversation. When people are walking around with these shirts, like this shirt says, "Being a bitch is un-American." It is. It is. It is. Right? People are going to ask me about that. When people are walking around with Black Guns Matter shirts, especially white dudes, you white dudes that have got them on, they're automatically going to hit you with, "You're making fun of Black Lives Matter." That's not adversarial. That's a teachable moment. That's a teachable moment to have the conversation. Nah, this organization was started by a black dude. He's from Philly. Hey, blah, 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 blah. Now we're talking about guns. That's the reason. You got to leave it. It's really kind of like Tai Chi. Like, use that energy that they're doing, kind of like against, not even against them. It's against the conditioning or the Azazel. Anybody seen Fallen with Denzel Washington? The Azazel that's in them, that energy, you're using that energy back against that negative concept. Does that make sense? Boom. You got another one. Go ahead.
Well, you said racist gun control.
Yeah.
Just expand on that.
Oh, yeah. So I can explain that really simple. He asked to expand on the racist roots of gun control. America at one point was constitutional carry. Like, the whole bitch was like, everybody can have a gun. If you shoot somebody with it, you go to jail. It's very simple. Simple, right? Then there was like, oh shit, wait, except the black dudes. Fucking make rules. Gun control. That's the origin of it. Everything else is a subsidiary of Racism Incorporated. That's not me making it up. That's not me like trying to sound like risky. No, that's like historical fact. Like North Carolina changed their state constitution. I use them as the example all the time. It was like, yo, every free man, sexism because it didn't say women, right? Every free man can own a gun. And then it was like, record scratch, every free white man. It's not me making it up. So that's the origin of gun control in this land that we call, and that wasn't just like we're checking to see if you're black, like African American, or if we're checking to see if you're native or indigenous. Because Negro, Native Americans, and so-called black people were like grouped as the same for a very long time. Right? So it was just like, nah, not like the black people. Like, no, not them. So that is the origin of gun control. Just like weed. Oh, I think weed is going to make like white women want to sleep with Negro jazz musicians. That was the origin, no bullshit, of cannabis prohibition in America. That's not me making it up. So when you pull that out and when you explain to our liberal brothers and sisters from an empathetic, loving, supportive place, it's not adversarial. You know why Trump lost this go around? Because he made too many enemies on the adversary tip. Outside of like me getting my election stolen, me personally, but stolen stuff. But nonetheless, my point is empathy works. You know why the Democrats have a stronghold on my hood? Because they seem empathetic. Seem. It's like girls try to like sleep with me all the time, right? But you have to like at least take me to dinner first. Like, what do you, the outcome's gonna be the same. She's like, yo, I'm still getting that. But she's taking you out to dinner. That's what the Democrat Party does. They seem empathetic. We have to apply some of those tactics. Now, if your morals dictate that you shouldn't, don't. Don't. I'm not telling you to be anything outside of who you actually are. I'm telling you tactics, which are short term, to go to the overall strategy of engaging and expanding the liberty movement in a demographic that doesn't even know who we are. They don't. Sister right here.
Right off of that, how can we do effective outreach to the black community without pandering?
Tell the truth. Tell the truth. You know, again, I hate to keep bringing up Trump, right? But you got to study everybody. Remember when he was on a campaign trail and he said, I think he was in Detroit, and he was like, you got no jobs. You go outside, you get shot. What have you got to lose? You see how everybody in here is like, Everybody in urban America was like, Just tell the truth. They're like, you know how many times I've been canceled? He said this to a donor. He's homophobic. The truth comes out. The truth comes out. The people that actually know you are like, that person's genuine. That can't be true. Right? You know how many people think that I'm like super stuck up before they meet me? And then they like, oh man, this dude was like so cool. Right? If I had coffee. Right? My point is, the truth always wins. I think Gandhi said that. Like, tyrants are around for a very long time, and it looks like they're going to be around forever. But in the end, truth always wins. It always does. Think about this right now. Everybody out here has had some shitty days. Like, horrible. Like, 2020 was like, how is my business going to continue? Is it the Civil War? Do I have to put rounds in, like, my local cop that is going to try to stop my business? Like, you've had these thoughts. I just say them out loud. But you've had these thoughts, and 100% of 100 of those times, you still made it and you're right here, right now. That is the absolute truth to your scenario right here. So, the pander is, again, the hot sauce in my bag thing. But respecting culture. Yo, that's hip-hop culture. Maybe they have. Has the National Convention ever had hip-hop artists at the convention? The fact that there's not a resounding, yeah, absolutely, speaks to the problem. I spent 3 years telling the NRA the same thing. I was like, yo, every hip-hop artist talks about guns. What the fuck are you doing? Why is there no hip-hop artist here? That's dumb. Truth. Yo, if this culture... Mike, one of his favorite artists is like, what is it? Not Royce, but Lupe, right? Gun Collect. All of these. So the question becomes like, if he gets urban American and understands the hip hop culture is like the most powerful form of expression on the planet right now, to recognize that that subculture exists is not a pander. It's like, yo, it's just hip hop. Hip hop is like pop culture now, so it's not a pander. It's just acknowledging the things that you're good at, and then that elusive phrase, I don't know. What do y'all think? Like, that phrase is gold. And when you say things like, nah, I totally get why in your community this police thing is an issue. No, I totally get that. That makes so much more of a further step than anything else. Then you don't come off pander. Then you don't have the libertarians. When people do pander, they actually are trying. That's the funny part, right? But if you do that and go too far, then you're absolutely gonna get other libertarians going, ooh, you're pandering, while they're doing nothing. You see what I'm saying? So it's basically just truth and honesty, as well as develop liaisons. Like, if I say this, like Michael know, Ty will know, maybe a few people in here will know this sentence, right? It's a Philly sentence. I drove up to the John in my new John. I left my John in the John, so I had to go back in the John and get my John. Some people in here, the people that's not clapping, have no idea what the fuck I just said. The people that are is like, no, you were in the car, you left your thing in the car, you went back to the car and get it before you went back to the location. That's a culture. That's a culture. Put that joint up. Hook the joint up. Which joint? The blue joint. Oh. You understand? And to not know that is to go, yo, what does joint mean? And then it's a teachable moment. As opposed to going like, yeah, the joint. Culture. Respect culture. And then be able to say, I don't know what that means. Tell me. If not, if you do it the wrong way, you know how dogs can smell fear? We gonna think you a cop. It's like, hello, fellow drug users. I happen to have a pound of marijuana for you to like, it'll just come off weird, right? Mike.
So you had said earlier that the biggest problem with the liberty movement is
Ruthless accountability with people that you already have love with. It won't work for beginners because we've been made marshmallows for some time now. We've been conditioned into marshmallowization. So when you're doing outreach, hold off on the ruthless accountability until you've developed a relationship with this person and you know they're at least on your team. But when they're on your team, there's a ruthless accountability. I cannot, if I'm I've never been disrespected to a certain extent without retaliation. Unwarranted disrespect, I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't care. If you unjustifiably disrespect me, I'm gonna say something or do something about it. That does not mean yell and scream. That could just mean like, listen, bro, you tripping. I'm out. I can't engage with you. There's gonna be I'm not gonna tap dance around the fact that you're doing something disrespectful to me. Now, that level of ruthless accountability is necessary to strengthen you in that moment. Because you sometimes may have to have ruthless accountability to a donor. I mean, just like it's you, and you have to search your soul in that. You gotta go, am I actually a Democrat because I choose to just kowtow to the donor for this moment outside of what my actual principles are? And each person's answer is your own answer. Just like I can't tell how much pain you have in your foot, I can't search your soul for you. So, that ruthless accountability with the people that we have relationships with, right? Not attacking them on this thing. Hey, you said you were gonna do this. What happened that you didn't? Oh, well, okay, well that's a legitimate answer. Or nah, bro, that was bullshit. I seen you tweeting. You weren't trying to actually get here. That ruthless accountability creates a culture of thick skin. So when I say something that, or you see something on the internet, you just scroll past it because instead of like going into a 2-hour tirade of why, blah, 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 blah. I just scroll past it. That softness is what makes urban America go, yo, if they can't really get it together on themselves, like what? Our neighborhood will fucking eat their faces off. So that ruthless accountability is how we maintain the standard of strength and culture. And you don't have to, I don't apologize for shit. Don't apologize unless you genuinely know that you were wrong. I was wrong. Y'all, like white dudes in here, right? There is an attack to make you just, as soon as you walk in the room, you're the racist. I'm sorry. Maybe some of y'all are. I don't fucking know. Maybe you are. I don't. However, I'm not going to hit you with that assumption. And if you know you're not and you're speaking a truth, from a place of empathy, stand on that. If I say something to somebody on the internet with my thumbs, I'm going to see them right in their face. Sarwark, I'm going to hold you ruthlessly accountable to what that shit you said. You understand what I'm saying? We have to develop that culture. Then it'll be a whole lot easier because urban America will go, nah, they harder than those dudes. They make more sense, and they're not soft. And we're not talking about, like caveman, like non-empathetic, non-understand. That's not strength. We're talking about character. We're not talking about, like, he lifts 300 pounds, so he's a real man. Like, that shit is not real. Go ahead. That it's a key there because right, it can be subjective. But to me, it didn't matter. Cool, say whatever you want. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Right? The balance is, I usually do it on your deeds. I don't care. Okay, you know the one big misnomer that like the hurdle that libertarians like gotta get over. Like I'm air quoting it, cause like it's like, oh, all of the libertarians just want there to not be a like. They want complete chaos and anarchy. Or, better phrasing, anarchists just want complete destruction. That's not what that means, bro. Holding them accountable to the definition, not your perceived definition. You can't hold me. So the horrible things they said about me. He's homophobic. Okay, cool. I don't even have to fight that because that's not actually accurate. So I don't have to apologize for something that's inaccurate. By holding people accountable to the standard and the definition, that's where we get past a lot of that subjective shit. I'm holding him accountable to the standards of the LP. Okay, well, what did using me for the example, what did he say? Did he violate the NAP? No. Was he aggressed upon first? Yeah. When he said what he said about a particular donor, did he name that donor? No. Did the donor jump out there on his own? Yes. So hold me absolutely ruthlessly to the standard. I've been shot at. This shit is a cakewalk. You see what I'm saying? So for you, your thought process is, I'm not judging this person for the things that they like or don't like. I'm asking their actions and their deeds, are they in alignment with the libertarian ideology, which is a lot more freer than sometimes when our own biases kick in? Because we're not me prejudging that dude, thinking he's going to prejudge me. You're not being the thing that you actually say you want others to be. So, base that off of the deed. The deed. Did Mike try and say, Maj, you should really run? I'm like, bro, I'm not fucking running for city council. Then Mike goes, well, let me explain. Bop, 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 bop. Oh, that shit makes sense. Now we're going to hold you accountable to the deed that Maj, you say you're in alignment with these concepts. You also said that there's a lot of politicians that are bullshit. You also said, Maj, that they need regular, hardworking people to be running for these offices. So, Maj, are you going to do it again? Or are you going to be a walking contradiction? He didn't attack me as a human. He was like, well, this is what you said. This is what you said. These are your deeds. Stand up to them. So that's, to me, that's the area where we find the balance. When I get into the conversation about, like, who they hang out with and, like, I don't give a shit. I don't care. I don't care. Some of the questions that people ask you as libertarians, like, for real, you almost shouldn't care. Like, I don't care. Well, what do you think about? I don't think about that shit. It's not mine. It's not within my circumference. If it potentially can impact on a negative, cool, like we can have that conversation. But if you're talking about somebody's individual whatever the fuck, does that make sense? Couple more. How much time? Am I running over the time? I'm good? Okay. Anybody? Couple more. I got all day. I don't work for anyone. Any more questions? No? Okay. The one black dude. He's got locks. That's cool.
So, don't you think that we should maybe focus on stopping the gun violence in the city?
No.
Before trying to get...
No. Because you can't. The question was, do I think that we should try to stop the gun violence in the city before we try to get black folks to buy more guns? It's too late. It's too late. If I would have had that conversation first, that shit don't work the way that it's trying to be done. The thing that actually works is more people with guns. There's a great book by Dr. John Locke called More Guns, Less Crime. Like, and dude's like way smarter than me. And he shows where, like, there's areas where there's a culture of safe and responsible gun ownership too. I gotta add that part. Where there's more guns and more safe and responsible gun ownership, there's less crime, less rape, less homicide, less all of that, right? Now, to your point, from an empathetic place, I want to say yes. Should we try to stop the gun violence before getting more folks armed? that in theory makes sense. So I'm not like trying to diss or like attack the question. But what we've been doing to stop it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Like, it's just like, you know, the city of Philadelphia has, and the city councilman is a buddy of mine. His name, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want him to feel bad. I'm going to say his name. He's my dude, and it's not a diss. Kenyatta Johnson is in control of like $10 million, don't quote me too hard on the number, of money that's supposed to go towards like violence prevention in Philadelphia. $10 million. I made black people the largest new gun owning group with $400,000 over 4 years. You guys have $10 million presumably in an interest-bearing account. What the fuck is going on? So, now it's not a knock to them, per se. It's a knock on that strategy. You have the money. I tell them all the time, yo, let's do a safety class. I said this to him. We should do a gun safety class in Independence Hall, like right where the Constitution was written. I told him this. I literally told him that. And it's like, it's about safety. It kills the racism narrative. It shows black people as an equal part of American history. All of this shit. What'd you think he said? He said, man, this is a good idea, man. We're gonna talk on that. Cricket. Now, let me be clear too. One city council person kind of can't do it, right? It's like one mayor kind of can't do it, right? The way that they have it structured, the way that their like checkbook is set up, it's just not designed to shift culture. Andrew Breitbart said, I thought it was a dope quote. He said, politics, I think it was Breitbart, politics is downstream from culture. So when you have places that have a good respect for gun culture, like Texas doesn't have very good gun laws. They have good gun culture. So in areas where there's a lot of guns and there's very little, you're not running in a house. You know what you might run into. So the answer is shifting the culture. Now, to the point of it's too late. Every month, damn near, there have been record-breaking numbers of gun purchases. It's like for the last like year and a half. It's too late. It's too late. Better to shift the mentality of the new gun owner. Better, to me, to get that new demographic. If we get that urban demographic to understand the non-aggression principle, if we get that urban demographic to understand freedom, to understand that, hey, there's a reason why they're trying to make you not have this firearm, so you can be like potential lunch meat for the state, then you shift culture. Then you have that person that is not a lunch meat for the state. Then you have that person that's going, I'm gonna stand on my own. Then you have that person then also saying, I'm not gonna unnecessarily aggress on anyone. Crime drops. So, in theory, yes, I would love to remove it, but doing it first that way historically just hasn't worked, right? So shifting that culture makes more headway in that regard. I'll give you an example. In 2016, before we went on a tour, we gave more classes on conflict resolution and firearm safety in Philly than any other city. When the stats came out in 2017, for 2016, Philadelphia had the lowest violent crime that it had had since 1979. So you shift culture, right? You get hip-hop artists going, I'm only shooting to protect my property. Free market capitalist is hip-hop, right? So you get that community to start going like, yo, I ain't shooting shit unless you a corrupt cop. Make that song, but they scared. I'll say it. I will shoot the shit out of anybody trying to violate my life. I don't give a fuck about your uniform. I don't care. I don't care. So when you get people saying those types of things, to another point, this is where libertarians get scared. Because now you are an actual threat to the state. That shit's heavy. So So now you got to really see where you at about this freedom shit. Some of us are going to go to jail. Some of us are going to go to jail. We already know, and it's going to get real somber when I make this statement. If I keep going, we already know how my movie's going to end. Y'all know it. I don't give a fuck. Malcolm X said the price of freedom is death. If you're not built for that, for this liberty shit, go be a Democrat. You'll get like tickets to concerts and shit. You'll have a great time. Especially if you live in a blue city, it'll be great. It'll be great for you. You'll be so ignorant, it'll be so blissful. The problem for you now is you can't plug back into that matrix. You know too much. So, you have to determine what your level of commitment for this thing is. And when you're talking about firearms ownership, you have to be very committed to making sure that the people that are the new group of gun owners, we're also infusing the culture of the non-aggression principle, safe and responsible gun ownership, and making them vote in different directions. Does that make sense? All right, one more. Another one. I told you I could do this shit all day. That shit is all in here and here. Anybody else? No? That scare everybody with the whole like, ooh, libertarians are gonna be enemies of the state. Yeah.
Libertarians are enemy of the state. Anybody that voted for Trump is now an enemy of the state. The FBI is investigating any.
I love it. But here's the funny thing about it. You ever see the movie 300? I don't care. Like when they say like the armed revolution happened in America, they said it was like 3% of like motherfuckers that was really about that. Like, so that means 97% of dudes was like, yeah, from my cold dead hands, and like fade into the background.
What you're saying about Gandhi and what it's like, okay, well, we have to, you know, these tyrants are eventually going to go away. That's bullshit. They're
Yeah.
not going away.
No.
Because of this whole.
Y'all stayed home?
There's a lot of people that are.
Oh, I never stopped doing anything. Right. Here's the thing. Here's the scary part. Now, when I ask y'all the first question, most people are going to raise their hands, right? Then I'm going to ask the second question. Most people are not going to raise their hands. Then I'll say something cute, and then we'll forget that awkward moment where most of you didn't raise your hands. How many people are willing to die for their freedoms? Everybody raises their hands. This always goes this way, right? Okay, put your hands down. How many people are willing to kill for their freedoms?
Right here.
Oh,
Right here.
okay, cool. Then we good. You guys are like part of the 3%, like you Leonidas and the crew. Like, all I'm saying to you is, I hope and I don't think that necessarily we're at that point. Because then what'll happen is like this camera will be here, and then somebody will say, Maj Toure said, shoot people next week. That's not what I fucking said. Right? And that's what'll happen. They'll do it. So let me clarify. I am not advocating for violence unnecessarily. However, America was founded on violence. I hope that we have evolved to a point where we can diplomatically have this discourse, we can shift culture, and then in turn, make the politic or the policies in these areas shift more in alignment with liberty. I said a whole paragraph there. Somebody's gonna tweet, Maj said shoot people next week. It's gonna happen. But you all that are here are understanding that that outreach is the thing that makes us not get to that extreme point. It's a numbers game. It's a popularity game. It's not a pandering game. It's a, how can my ideas and this concept of freedom, how can I get that to people that we haven't been getting it to? And if we can do that, we win. That's the reason why Democrats are always in urban America. They are great at it. We have been trash at it. Mike's great at it. Y'all don't even got cheesesteaks over here. I'm over here because he's like, yo, you should come to this thing, Maj. You know what I'm saying? My point in saying that is this. You are now missionaries, soldiers for this thing. And it cannot just be in the rooms with people that's going to argue with you about stupid shit. Rothbard, Murray, I don't care. That's not going to change the... Okay, cool. He knew that financial system was going to be horrible. Great. That's why you're paying this much for lumber. Cool. Now that we know that, the people that don't even know the references that we're talking about in this room, we got to put them on to that game. That's the win. That's why they try to keep you secluded. And I believe that's why I think that they put certain people in our party's leadership at certain points to deflect. You guys are very, very dangerous. I mean, I see all the like slippers and slides and like tents. You guys are very dangerous. What will make you more dangerous is your ability to translate ideas, because you're artists. You're artists. You're artists for freedom, literally. And there's a quote that says, be careful with artists because they can merge with all elements of society. You as an artist for freedom and an artist for liberty, you already have a concept of like, yo, if he wants to slather himself with butter, cool, that's his thing. You're not going to create an enemy with the butter slather dude. You're going to go, hey, bro, that's your thing on Wednesdays. It's already in you. You've been saying it to the same people. Now you have to translate it to people that actually already agree with you. You tell it, there's nobody in your community, right? I'm going to assume your hood, right? I'm going to assume that if you told people like from our community, if you said, yo, bro, do you think the police should just like leave us alone, let us smoke or sell weed if we want to, and try to not kick in our doors when they think we have weed? You'd be hard pressed to find a dude in urban America to be like, nah, man, I think this weed thing is out of control. Conceptually, it's there. The translation is what's off. That's the same. I had the same conversation with Candace Owens. Stop telling people that they're on a fucking plantation and they're a slave. Fuck, you just call me a fucking slave, bro. Like, I'm supposed to come with you now? You think I'm a slave. You're just taking me to other slavery. Stop saying that. So the messaging, you guys are artists that can paint that picture for a demographic that sorely needs it. And you are going to become a threat at that point. You are. You already are. All of y'all Instagrams are shadow banned. You use too many of the hashtags. It's over for you. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And the way that we beat that is by genuine conversation, authentic outreach, no pandering, as well as just making sure that we're being honest with each other, leading with the non-aggression principle. And there's three things, because I still got time or I can get out of here. Which one? Still, oh, my bad, it's another speaker. I was talking too much. So I'm going to leave y'all with these three. This is what I do all of the time. It's 3 steps. First is empathy. You cannot do anything without empathy. This shit just won't work. Especially if you go to number 2 first, which is facts. You present the facts. You say a thing. It's like, yeah, fucking the sun is 93 million miles from the earth. Cool. Or hot, whatever. That means nothing. But when you start talking about warmth and how the sun gives us life and the grass and how you feel having a great glass of wine and some warmth, that person feels you now. And they'll literally say, I feel you. Empathy. Empathy's always first, right? Second is facts. If you jump facts first, you lost them. And then third, you come up with the solution together. If I've created empathy, and I know that we on the same team, or at least got 80, 70, 30, 80, 20 of values in alignment. Now, you can share those facts with me and I'm not on the defense. Then after I'm not on the defense, now I want you to be a part of this. So now we're going to come up with the solution together. I empathize and I want to hear you. You feel me. We talked about the data. Now let's come up with the solution together. So it's 3 steps. What's the first one? Empathy. Nobody's writing this shit down. All right, whatever. I'm going back to Philly. I don't care. I know this stuff. Yeah, your teacher used to be like, I'm going to get paid anyway, right? I already know this stuff. I got my degree. The same thing. I don't care if you write it down. You should write it down, though. All right? Empathy. What's the second one? Facts. They are cold. That's why you got to warm them up first with empathy. All right? Third one, solutions. We're going to come up with the solution together. If I have empathy for you and we went over the data, my solution may be different in an urban center than your solution in a suburban or rural center. So let's engage to come up with that solution together. Does that make sense? All right, y'all. My name is Maj. I'm out of here. I appreciate you. I'm absolutely going to get hammered.